Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I thank the Secretary of State for advance sight of this statement, and I echo his thanks to Mr Rycroft on the work he's done on what is a very important report. We began the work in this area through the Defending Democracy Task Force, and I'm glad to see the Security Minister in his place to highlight the important link between the work of this report and the work that he does. And there should be no party political divide when it comes to protecting the integrity of our democracy. And of course, there is a great deal within this report that my party instinctively agrees with. But the process falls far short of what this House should expect. The Rycroft review, 50 pages, was published just 20 minutes before Prime Minister's questions and only 5 minutes before one of his ministers was hosting a meeting that I was invited to on local government reorganisation, making it very difficult for me to properly read the detail of the report and made it very difficult for me to read the detail of an incredibly important report, a report with which I said we instinctively have much that we agree. This is not just poor procedure, it means that it is harder for the opposition to properly scrutinise the actions of the government, particularly in light of the fact that many of the proposals in the report are being initiated immediately. Sadly, this does follow a pattern of behaviour from this government. This bill has already been through second reading and is at Bill Committee. And yet today, this is the first time we are seeing important elements of a report that goes to the heart of that legislation. Foreign interference is growing and it does demand a coherent response, a cross-party response. And yet this government chooses to legislate first and then make announcements later. They brought forward the Representation of the People Bill before this review had been reported. They asked the House to scrutinise legislation which was full of holes, which the Secretary of State is now announcing at the dispatch box. This is not good process, and it is not about process for process sake. It is about ensuring that unforeseen outcomes, bad outcomes, are avoided whilst protecting what needs to be protected. Because now we are told that major changes, fundamental changes on donations, on enforcement, on transparency, we rushed into a bill midway through its process, late in the bill's passage, without proper consultation, without proper scrutiny, without proper time. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not the way of making sure that cross-party policy is successfully implemented. And it is absolutely right that the Secretary of State and the government want to send a clear message that they take this seriously. And we echo that desire, but this is not the way to do it. Announcing government action by press release, then filling in the details later, actually undermines the important work at the heart of this report. Russia's aggression, Iran's hostile activity on British soil, cyber attacks on our institution, Chinese state-based activity against us here in the UK makes it incredibly important that we fight this fight together. And having these things bumped on the House in the way that this report has been does not help. And he knows that we are very much on the same side of this. So I have a number of questions which I will rattle through now. Why did he not wait for the Rycroft report before introducing this bill to the House? Which of the review's recommendations will require primary legislation, and what time will be made for that primary legislation? Will he commit to a full consultation with the political parties and regulators before making any substantive amendments to bill going through the House? From initial reading, the proposal on company donations will have a significant effect on legitimate domestic donations. Why is the government proposing to treat domestic philanthropy as if it was something distasteful? And will the Secretary of State confirm that these changes will not be brought forward without proper consultation and consideration on the effects of legitimate domestic funding? Fifth, foreign interference is not the only threat to the integrity of our elections. We have seen evidence of breaches of electoral law. So what steps will the Secretary of State take to ensure the current legislation is enforced? Will he tighten the rules on foreign donations? He said about devolved franchise changes in Wales and Scotland. What will he do to make sure that the forthcoming elections are protected? And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, does the Secretary of State now accept a very short pause to enable good faith interventions from my party and others would make this legislation stronger and send the signal that we are united as a democracy in this endeavour?
Secretary of State.